So remember that movie, The Sixth Sense, that came out in like 1999, in which Haley Joel Osment's character says, "I see dead people." Remember that? Some of y'all may not, because maybe some of y'all might not have been born yet. But anyway, it's a very famous line from the movie, and essentially this young boy happens to see ghosts, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's so crazy, right? Kids and young people, their energetic, we're gonna call it their energetic sight is more open than adults. So usually kids and sometimes even animals, maybe even your dog, your cat, can sometimes see, feel, or sense things that are beyond just the physical realm. We usually think that the physical realm is the only realm or is the main realm. But the physical realm, what we see, feel, touch, sense, eat, all those things on the senses of the five senses, the physical senses, is only one level. It's one layer of the many layers of our universe. And there are many, many, many more layers. And I believe once we realize that, once we tap into that, I believe that the people that we might think are crazy or insane actually have a sense into higher realms or other realms of the universe. Anyway, tangent, coming back now. Kids can see and sense other energies that may not be there. I know there are a few instances where I came across a few kids that, were really in tune with seeing other things that were beyond the physical. I remember there was one particular girl, this was a few years ago. I was working at a summer camp, and before I went to the summer camp, I always did like this really strong, intense meditation called the Meditation on Twin Hearts that was given to the world by Grandmaster Choa Kaksui, who's behind me here, hanging out. Hey, Grandmaster, how you doing? Anyway, it's an amazing meditation. It's very powerful. And I used to do it every time before going into the camp to teach the children's, back when I was doing that consistently. And I remember there was one day where I didn't get a chance to do the meditation. And I went in, and I remember this one girl was like, "Oh, you don't have on your gold hat today." I was like, "Huh?" She's like, "Yeah." She said, "Every time you come in, you always wear this gold hat, but you don't have it on today." I was like, "Okay, girl, bye." But like, the gold hat she was probably seeing was probably this gold energy or like this gold halo probably around my head. That happens when you sometimes do meditation, like intense meditations. That day, I didn't do the intense meditation, so she didn't see that gold halo around my head. Interesting. Remember, there was another young boy who was maybe about like 8 or 9 at the time. Again, this is a few years later at the same summer camp I was working with. I remember we went to a church to use this space for rehearsal. We happened to be in like the sanctuary of the church. Now, churches, like if you go to a church or a temple or a synagogue, like there's spiritual energy there. And like usually in the midst of service, the spiritual energy is high. The angels, the divine beings of the service, of the church, of the religion tend to come and sort of help move things along. So even in moments in which the service is not in play, the energy is still there. It may not be as high, but the energy is still there. So remember this one boy who happened to be in the church, doing the rehearsal. And I remember he like went towards the pulpit, and I was looking. I was like, okay, be careful, because I know, some churches are very particular about going on the pulpit, which is like the place where the ministers or the pastors stand during the service. I said, okay, don't get too close, come back. And he was like, "I see sparkles. There are sparkles all over the place." I was like, "Huh?" He was like, "I see sparkles. There's like all these sparkles over here in this area." And I was like, okay, but like he had this clairvoyant sense of like seeing these energies that are in the space beyond what the human eye can see. Years later, I happened to come back in touch with this boy because actually that summer when I realized that, I was like, oh, he clairvoyant. So I started doing some tests with him, to sort of see what he could see, and he was usually always right. But I remember years later, I kind of came in contact with him, and I was like, hey, you still see the stuff? He was like, no. I said, what happened? He said, I started telling my mother, and I remember I told her something one time about seeing whatever he saw one time outside, and his mother said, stop that craziness. Ever since then, he has not had the sight or the clairvoyance. So it's interesting. There's this thing when people are younger, before the world tells us not to do something, not to be creative, not to be imaginative, not to do something that might be truly at our core, something that's like deep, something that's intuitive, something that's natural. Like before the world tells us no, we can't do those things, we are really able to like tap into like this like juiciness, like this sweetness of like what we came, I believe what we came to see and to feel and to manifest to like help humanity move forward. And when we have these moments where people shut us down in our life that are very influential, like that in some ways can take away a bit of our purpose and a bit of our reasoning for why our soul came. Now, granted, something can happen years later for this boy who's now a teenager, for him to open up his sight again. But while he's living with his mother telling him to stop doing that, it probably won't be open. I know for myself, I'll speak from myself, as an example. I remember when I was younger, I used to see stuff too. And I was like, see, now nobody told me stop doing that, but I was like, I feel like I'm crazy because like no one else is like seeing or hearing what I'm seeing or hearing. So I kind of was like, all right, okay, whatever, stop. But it wasn't until years later where I kind of learned more about esoteric truths and spirituality and started taking classes in energy healing, specifically with the pranic healing system, where things opened up again. And I was able to sort of move forward and, fulfilling a part of the reason why my soul came to serve in this time and in this way. So this has been a long message as I look outside at the birds here. It's interesting, I look outside and I see the birds and it's like they're listening. It's interesting. Like all the birds, like they're facing me, kind of like they're listening. Anyway, and there's like different kinds. It's not just like regular birds. It's like red bird, red. I don't know. There's like a blue jay here. It looks like it's a blue bird. There's like another red bird here. Anyway, it's interesting because now now they're all left as I look towards them and started talking. But it's interesting. I would say the point of this message, as I went off on my tangents, point of this message, to be honest, is like if you realize that there is a young person in your life and they are telling you something that they see, feel, or sense that maybe you don't feel, see, or sense, don't shut them down. Because maybe there's a gift there. Maybe there's this intuitional, spiritual, energetic gift that they're meant to have to use in this lifetime to help humanity move forward. That's it. That's the message. It took me almost 9 minutes to say all of that. But I had to give you some backstory, So anyway. All right. Thank you for watching. Till next time. Bye.